Welcome, everybody. We are live. It is the WMMA Today podcast with your host, Drake Riggs, and normally Steve, but Steve might be showing up depending on when he gets back home. He's having some troubles getting home, so hoping he can make it back all safely from where he's coming from. But good to see you guys here today. Thank you so much for tuning in. Gonna be relying on you all again as we have, myself and just you guys, but quite a stacked lineup, a whole lot to talk about today. And I'm gonna try and squeeze this to about an hour and a half episode because I am gonna try and get on that One Empower media call that we got coming up here starting very soon. But I want to see those I want to be there for the face-off interviews or whatever they're doing. But anyway, we'll get into that. Don't you worry. As I said, a lot to talk about, as I'm sure some of you are very prepared for as you begin flowing in here. Greatly appreciated. Obviously, a lot of fights that happened over the weekend, Invicta in particular, and a lot coming up. 2 back-to-back women's full female cards. So you love to see that. Plenty of great things going on in the MMA world. So as we get ready to go, let me welcome you all. Good to see you. No Filter MMA is in the house, giving us the double flex. Good to see you. Thanks for tuning in. James, my man, he says, I say this every week. This is the best WMA show / podcast on YouTube. Nothing else compares. No nonsense talk about WMA topics and results. You're goddamn right there, buddy. Rain is in the house. What is up, man? Rue, good to see you. Jimmy, good evening. I'm very excited for a great show. As always, Ghost, what is going on, man? Doing the best I can. Rain says, where the hell is Steve? As I said right off the top, he told me he was stuck in traffic trying to get back from the mountains because, there's some wildfires going on in California, I guess, and they're pretty bad, shutting down highways and stuff. So he's stuck. He's stuck right now, and I hope he's okay with me saying that because that is kind of public knowledge going on in the world down in California where he lives. So hopefully Steve is safe and making it home slowly but surely. He said he was caught in traffic earlier. So maybe he'll show up at some point mid-show. That'd be cool, but we'll see. No Filter MMA must collab, bro. MMA channel here. Hey, we're always talking about guests, and we were thinking about having one today. Would have been a great time for it. So maybe next week, and no spoilers on the guests, even though we've kind of talked about them before. So maybe soon we'll have some new guests coming on. I have to alter the show a little bit, but it will be fun regardless. So Alex is here. What is up, my man? Good to see you. Thanks so much for tuning in. Yes, wishing Steve all the best. He's I think he'll be fine. He's a tough guy. He's been through, he's seen it all, been there, done that. Just sounds like he's stuck with everybody else trying to get home. So forest fires are not fun. Let's put it that way. Mr. Lee, good to see you from Detroit, Michigan. There you go. Appreciate it, man. All right, you guys, without further ado, let's start getting into the show now. As I said, plenty to discuss. So I am more than happy to hear all of your guys' thoughts, comments, concerns about every topic we got going today. Jin, good to see you as well. And I'm going to need some help as we get started with the Invicta 44 recap, because as Alexander knows, I actually I was unable to catch this event live as I hoped to and wanted to, but it's kind of by my own doing because I wanted to have, I like to enjoy life outside of MMA every now and then, and I need breaks, you guys. So I was hanging out with some friends on Friday night instead, and I was going to catch up on everything with the replay and all that, but I didn't know where to really find where I would watch a replay. And I always feel weird paying for, a card that kind of just happened and not watching it live. So I will probably end up doing that. I would still like to see these fights kind of, even though I've seen the results, and I did catch the prelims a little bit. So, we'll see what I can figure out there. But either way, for those of you guys that did see Invicta 44, what do you think of the show? Obviously, we got some pretty good highlights off the top there. And yeah, so let's get into it. Invicta FC 44, starting right off the top, because those are the two most eventful things. We'll just go right here with the two new champions, one of which Steve and I did not predict. The other we did. Emily Ducote, my goodness. So as I just said, did not get to see this whole fight, but of course can't miss that highlight. My, oh my. That was something else. I don't think that we expected Emily Ducote to get a knockout, let alone a knockout that way against Danielle Taylor. Looked, I mean, Mortal Kombat-ish stuff right there. Stiffed her with the overhand right, and then she was falling, but got one for good measure with the head kick there. Beautiful stuff for Emily Ducote. Just kind of turned things around at strawweight. Really should have, it makes you wonder if she wouldn't have had that stint in Bellator, if people would have had different perceptions of her, but maybe it helped her because obviously she looks great now. Her only loss at strawweight is to Kanako, which she was very competitive against Kanako, and no shame in that one. And she's been able to put away people notoriously tougher chinned fighters, like let's say Danielle Taylor and Janessa Moranjan. So yeah, that was very impressive. And she was very happy, elated about it, as you can imagine, because third time was the charm, as we kind of predicted there, Steve and I did. But crazy stuff. Can't help but feel good for her. Looks very good at 115, as I mentioned there. So you love to see it. Knockout of the year candidate right there. And Rain says, Taylor became the wacky inflatable flailing arm tube man. I don't know if I'd go that far, but she definitely, it was like she got knocked out twice a little bit. Very wild. No Filter says, Emily Ducote looked much better. That loss to Alimale turned her up. Yeah, tuned her up pretty much. Just kind of getting experience like that against those fighters, I think definitely didn't help Ducote. And then, here she is now looking very good. And Rue just not having it. Serves Taylor right. Time for her to retire. Jeez. With the thumbs up. Harsh man. I'm surprised she hasn't tried atomweight, honestly. Maybe she can try that out next. We'll see. Joseph, good to see you. Says, let's get Emily Ducote in the UFC. Yeah. Would be nice. I'm not going to say it wouldn't be nice, but it's just funny to see a comment like that after the new era of Invicta, right, you guys? I think I touched on this a little bit too when that was happening, but the whole kind of theme behind the new era, at least from Shannon's point of view, is like she wants to kind of build up to not be a feeder league anymore. And you can have your opinions on that. And, got to get back to the early days of Invicta where they had so many legit fighters and obviously some of the best. That was an incredible time for Invicta. But I don't think that Invicta titles are going to necessarily be UFC contracts anymore for obvious reasons. They're not with Fight Pass, not really collaborating in that same sense. Of course, Shannon will let fighters go somewhere if they want to go somewhere, but I don't think it's going to quite look the same as it has in recent years. So we'll see how that plays out. But she, Ducote is looking good. I mean, she's not necessarily needed just yet, but of course, when you look at some people who are in the UFC, not going to name any names, at strawweight, you could definitely swap some in and out. So we shall see. And Alex right there with me missed it. He couldn't find a water source as he asked me. He was looking for one. No Filter says Ducote would drown in the UFC strawweight division, though. I don't know about drown, but I'm not sold yet that she'd go super far. Maybe. Yeah, I could see her getting close to top 15 at the moment, but it's just a tough division. It is a very, very tough division, as you guys know. Rain says, first time ever I was happy watching a full Taylor fight, even though most of it was pretty boring. Not much happened beforehand, I'm assuming. Joseph says, I know you get to it later, but we'll get to that. Yeah, we'll save that. Not even going to bother until we get there, my man. We'll go with the lineup. So, yes, big congratulations to Emily Ducote. Very impressive stuff. Beautiful, just beautiful knockout. And then in the co-main event, though, Tanisha Tennant, in my books, and I don't know if there were actual odds on this, an upset, rather solid upset over Lisa Versosa. And I mean, especially considering the fact that it was a complete shutout. 50-45. Was there even a 44 in there maybe for 10-8 with Tennant? I mean, goodness, if there was even a second left at the end of that second round, Tennant probably would have finished it. I mean, you maybe could have stopped that between rounds. Lisa was on ice skates there. Yeah, and I mean, that was kind of the only highlight I saw from this fight, but very surprising. I just did not see that coming. For Tanisha to win every single round and almost finish her. Impressive, very impressive. And what kind of a turnaround when you go from, the Danielle Wolf loss. Some people think it was a loss. I do think that that Wolf edged that one out, but either way, Tennant, as we said last week, also has always had great potential and won that Phoenix series. But I just didn't think she'd be quite at the stage yet to do this to to Lisa of all people. But yeah. And okay, Jimmy, I see your comment there, and I'll address this right now before we do get heated up with things in the news. Constructive criticism is always welcome, you guys, but we'll leave it at that, I guess. Just stay calm with things. I know, and we'll get to it, but just remain civil, I guess. So yeah, either way. No Filter says McKenna, Hansen, Whitmire all beat Takote. Fair, but was a while ago. Was it not? She's on she's 4-1 in the last 5, so she looks like a different fighter in my books, especially from the Bellator flyweight version of Takote. But worth mentioning, very, very fair there. Sintra, what is up? Good to see you. Asks, when will we see me back on SCMP? So I will actually probably try and hop on the stream right after this show, because as I mentioned off the top, Sintra, I'm going to be on the One Empower Media call, and then I'll probably hop on the stream during that or after. So tonight, after this show, you can go and catch me with the boys, Nick Atkin, and I'm sure JHK will be there. And yeah, we'll be talking all about One Empower, which we're going to talk about on this show. So going to be a lot of One Empower. Oh my goodness. But and then also I will be in Las Vegas for UFC 260. What is that? 6? Is that the next one? Whatever, the Volkanovski one. So I'll be covering for SCMP there as a do. So yeah, I'm just doing my thing over here. Sincho still got it all going on with SCMP as well. Joseph with comments on the commentary. I do not like Eve Edwards. I'd rather hear a 2-person booth. Interesting how the 2-man booth has seemingly started to disappear, hasn't it? Seems like the 2-man booth or 2-woman, whoever is in the booth for commentary, it's starting to disappear a lot. It's usually 3 now, which, yeah, Eve, he was what he was. He was not great, not terrible, I don't think. I like some of his insights, but I don't know, didn't think he was super needed. I got nothing against him, of course, but Misha, I thought was great. She was refreshing to kind of hear, because I know she hasn't done commentary since, I don't think, One Championship. But it was they're trying new things, so got to see how it goes before you make further decisions, I suppose. But Tanisha Tennant's got the gold now, so crazy, very impressive stuff. Brogan Walker Sanchez got the submission over Emily King. I have no idea how this fight looked, but not super surprised by that result. Emily King, of course, has been finished in the past and falls to 5-6 now, short notice. Brogan was, she was already training, as Chuck said last week, and I think Chuck's here, so good to see you too, Chuck. If I'm wrong, that's whatever, but I'm sure you'll tune in at some point because I'm optimistic. But yeah, Brogan Walker Sanchez gets it done, keeps climbing, improving her record as a solid talent at 125. Alvin is here. Good evening, Mr. Riggs. I enjoyed the Invicta card. Well worth $20. There you go, man. Happy to hear it. Glad you liked it. And it ended pretty spectacularly, did it not? That alone was worth it. So, yes. Joseph says, I feel like Misha's mind is underrated. If she retired again, I'd rather hear on the desk and calling UFC fights. It'll be interesting to see who wins that race to the first female UFC commentator, right? Laura's been asking all about it, who Laura was, pretty fun addition when she was on for with Jimmy. Was that for Phoenix series? I don't even remember if that was for that. But I enjoyed Misha as well. I'm sure that we'll definitely have her on the desk again for sure. But actually calling fights, I don't know how interested the UFC is in doing that, which is lame. But yeah, they have so many people going in and out as is. Liz Tracy, the Portland girl, my hometowner, she got it done over Jody by split decision. That's interesting. I'm very curious to see how this one played out. And then, of course, Serena De Jesus also got it done against Lauren Mueller. I believe I saw a lot of people kind of saying that that one shouldn't have been a split, but yeah, as for both of these fights, crazy that Jody drops to 6-7 now, hasn't won a fight in quite a long time, as we talked about last weekend. So good. I'm happy to see both them win, though. Sucks for obviously Jody and Lauren, because nothing against them either. They're fun, enjoyable fighters, but at least they made it competitive, according to the questionable Kansas City judges. But I am definitely curious to go back and see how those played out. Helen Peralta got it done against Caitlin Salmons. This was the last prelim fight. Saw that one. Looked pretty solid there. Valencia Sol, I think I was in the shower for that one. Don't remember seeing that, so I did miss most of this card. Salcedo, all right. Salcedo gets the win against Perez. Let's talk about this a little bit, because just mentioning Eve Edwards, Joseph, he was absolutely in love with Natalie Salcedo and hyping the absolute shit out of her, if we're going to be honest, saying that she could hang with some top atomweights and everything, which this was her debut, Eve. Let's chill out. Definitely there's some potential there, but let's not get crazy now, sir. And no disrespect to him, but I'm going to imagine he probably does not know who too many top atomweights even are. So, yeah. And then to kick things off, Kayla Yontef absolutely completely dominated Carlene Chandler, who, funny enough, I originally misread as Chelsea Chandler when this fight was made. But how about that? She is the sister of Chelsea Chandler. So, Kayla Yontef, very little resistance in that fight. Complete domination. Just got her down effortlessly and beat her up. So, yeah, that was how that goes, how that went. Yeah. And there's Chuck. So he says, huge weekend for Asian MMA coming up. One in Power, Deep Jewels 34, Road FC with 2 bouts, including the title fight. Is Deep 34 this week? Because if it is, then I missed another thing on the lineup. There's too much going on, Chuck. Oh, my goodness. Deep Jewels 34 isn't this weekend, is it? Please tell me if it is. And if it is, I guess I'll have to try and squeeze that in as well, at least real quickly. So, yeah. Joseph says, Felder Cruz calling fights put me to sleep. I like Bisping and DC. P.S. Where's Steve? Steve is stuck in traffic trying to get back from the mountain because wildfires in California. And I understand your kind of differences there. Bisping and DC, obviously a lot more animated than Felder Cruz, but you get a little bit of something different with each of them. But it's all preference, right? Jin says, top atomweights, can she hang with Ayaka Hamasaki? Doubt it. Nah, absolutely not. Long ways to go there. Not many can hang with Ayaka, Jin. Ooh, Alex, great question here as we get ready to move on. He asks, who are the next possible opponents for the 2 belt holders? Kind of tricky, because honestly, at 135 in Invicta, so for Tanisha Tennant, I can't think of too many fighters, honestly. Yeah, the division is just very shallow in the world in general, and there could be something I'm completely blanking on, somebody I'm completely blanking on, but there's just not a lot to choose from at bantamweight outside the UFC, and even in the UFC, it's a little tough, as you guys know. But if there's one person who might not necessarily want to come back to Invicta, but she's out there still for some stupid reason, Sarah Kaufman could return and take her belt back, even though she deserves to be in the UFC. And Steve and I mention that every time she is around, one of the most underrated fighters of all time. I will let you know that. That would be a fun fight for sure. And obviously we haven't seen Sarah since she lost to Pacheco in last season's PFL lightweight tournament. So she didn't quite belong in that weight class, of course, but I don't know. That would be, I guess, the best, most fun option. Or bring back Tanya Evinger. She's looking for a fight. That'd be fun. But I'm thinking of legends here, more pioneer type fighters. That's kind of a problem. And I could be forgetting someone, as I said, but there's just not a lot to choose from at bantamweight. As for strawweight, a little bit interesting too, because obviously it's been getting picked from the UFC, taking fighters and all that. But I don't know if you guys saw, but the atomweight champ, Alicia Zapatella, still wants to do the champ thing, which, my goodness, very confident she is. And I just, I don't think people should be fueling that or getting behind that idea. props to her for wanting to try it, but she just is so small and is arguably should not be winning the fight. She's winning at atomweight anyway, so very confident, and you gotta appreciate that. But maybe a little bit too confident, because I'm not sure how that would turn out, at least in a positive manner. But again, we'll see what happens there. So I'm sorry, Alex. I guess I don't have any specific names for you that are immediately in Invicta, but you know, we'll have to see how things shake out. It's kind of hard for me to remember when things are picking back up again, but we'll see how it shakes out. So Joseph says, "Dear boxing gods, please let's see Taylor versus Katie Taylor versus Amanda Serrano. We lost Pacquiao versus Spence Jr. Sure, that'd be fine. You guys know I don't care about boxing, but I'll get that comment in." Rain says, "As long as it's not Big John and Goldie doing commentary, podcasting about their experiences from UFC 1, Pitbull versus Chandler 2, they were unlistenable." Jin says, "Do you think the UFC would sign Dakota just because of that highlight reel knockout, even though it's not a good idea?" Absolutely, Jin. Come on, look at some of the people that are signing off with a Contender series. No names to be named, but yes, of course they would. Undeniably. I bet they're not very sad, but I'm sure that they would have liked that on the UFC Fight Pass and whatnot. So it'll be interesting to see where things go from here. But yeah, they would definitely take Dakota off of that for sure. But now, though, it's interesting because Invicta's going to have to allow them to use that footage if they were to bring her in. So it's a different ball game. You guys got to remember this. They're not collaborating the same as they were before the deal ended. So yeah. And to wrap up Invicta stuff, Joseph says, "Drake, what is the update on Megan Anderson?" So if you may have saw Megan and both Julie Kedzie kind of teasing the plans that Megan has in the works, and I don't know what those could be, but it sounds like MMA related, according to Julie, who tweeted that out about a couple hours ago. But of course, Megan's doing a lot of stuff with her gaming and all of that, and don't want to speculate or anything, but she did have nose surgery recently, Megan, that is, to fix her prior broken nose, kind of straighten out and all of that. And then she had surgery for the elbow and all that stuff that happened after the Nunes fight, just a bunch of recovery things. And not to speculate again, but there was a time, I do remember, when I think it was on an Aussie and Fancy Q&A, maybe, don't remember, but Megan said that she'll fix her nose, which was, broken from one of her early fights and not as straight as it used to be. She'll fix her nose once she retires. So take that in however you would like. And, it makes sense that maybe no movement happening with either PFL or Bellator just yet, because of the fact she's been recovering. Wouldn't really make sense to sign when she's, kind of in the middle of that stuff. So don't know necessarily anything too specific, Joseph, but just when you put all the pieces together, that's where my mind goes. So who knows? We'll see. Would be amazing to see her at Bellator, though. Hope that she's not done just yet. But anyway, that is Invicta FC 44. Hope those of you that tuned in enjoyed. And we'll wait for the next one, whenever that may be. I don't remember seeing anything that was announced, so we shall see. But all right, got some more comments coming in here. Alex says, "Will fighters continue migrating from Invicta to UFC with such frequency, in your opinion? If they do, what does Invicta win with that?" No, I mean, that's pretty much what I was getting at about the titles not being UFC contracts anymore. Invicta wants to establish themselves as no longer a feeder league. And I mean, they never wanted to be a feeder league, but to prove that they are a sustainable, solid home for the best female fighters in the world. So what they win out of doing that, Alex, is legitimacy, I suppose, and kind of giving a bigger platform than being just a feeder league would provide. At least that's what it sounds like, from having talked to Shannon and things like that. So they just want to work up to be something bigger, and good luck to them doing that. We'll see how it plays out. But yeah, of course, we're still going to see migrations. Absolutely. But at the same clip? No, I don't think so. Time will tell, of course. Joseph says, I would be upset if Megan goes to Bellator because of the storyline with Cyborg, but if she goes to PFL, I like her at 155. Why would you be upset about the Cyborg storyline? I mean, that's a fight that we were supposed to see and never got it. So I'd be fine with that for sure. And Cyborg needs opponents, and apparently she has got a fight. If you guys heard her on the MMA Hour, Cyborg said she has her next fight lined up. Wouldn't say who it was, but it's not Kat Zingano. I don't know who it's going to be then. Unless it's Megan. That would be fine. Sure. I mean, not the best for Megan coming off of a loss already in a title fight, but to jump right in, I don't know. What else are you going to do? Julia Butter rematch? I don't know. Cyborg says she thinks it'll excite people, but she kind of, of course she's going to say that about her fights. So yeah, well, that's going to be a mystery. Make your guesses who Cyborg's fighting next. Yeah, geez. Who knows? James says, do you find it odd that the tough finale fights are technically not UFC? Or I guess it could be Pam. Let me throw that out there. Do you find it odd that tough finale fights are technically not UFC fights since they are fighting for contracts? Also, it sucks that Tercios didn't get a fight of the night bonus. He didn't get a bonus, but Dana said he'd give him a bonus, not like the fight of the night or whatever. I think that's what he said. I watched the post-fight stuff, but I mean, they are UFC fights, James, is the thing. Whether you're meaning like the counting on the records during the show, which has always kind of annoyed me, whether they do and they don't, because they do with some, but not others. Yeah, and if you really look at history, going back all the way to the very first Ultimate Fighter, obviously more people than just the winner got contracts. And of course, it might have been because of that season, but whoever loses the finals always gets at least another shot in the UFC, unless you're season 28, which people had to leave and come back like Panty and whatnot. But if you know that, and the fact that everybody, this is actually what it was. If you guys remember going back to season 20 of The Ultimate Fighter, the strawweights where Carla won the title and all that, and Rose was on it, everybody, you name it. And I mean, they've been doing this for a while, I believe, before that, but the tough contracts that you get for the UFC are 10-fight deals, and they're terrible. You don't want to be on those because it's the bottom, the absolute bottom of the pay structure, but that's how they trap you with the 10 fights. You're not going to finish that out unless you renegotiate or something. So that's kind of what they put you on. At least they used to. I don't know anymore, but we know for a fact that I'm blanking on Ricky's opponent's name, but he's going to be in the UFC too. He's going to get another fight. That's just how it goes. It's just how it goes. So yeah. Joseph says, I meant to say I would not be upset if Megan goes. Okay. So yeah, that makes more sense. Yeah. Yeah. No, I mean, they could clearly use her if Cyborg's already running out of logical opponents. And Rain says, is the pay structure worse than Contender series for the Ultimate Fighter? Well, I think it used to be, but it's very close now. But I think the Contender series actually might be worse from what I was kind of hearing about this season. For this season specifically, I don't know if you can compare it with the other ones, but Contender series actually would get you less than being on this season of the Ultimate Fighter. And going forward, it'll probably be the same or better, whatever. It's on ESPN now. You got to think about that kind of thing too. So, I don't know the exact specific numbers there, but from what I was seeing around last week and all that, I think it is better. So not by a lot, of course, but reason to believe. So yeah, good stuff. Kind of. Not really. Either way, UFC Vegas 35 did happen, you guys. And as you mentioned with Ricky Tercio, so that's a fantastic segue. Thank you so much for setting me up there. We did have a single fight after Invicta concluded. So why don't we get into it? It was the flyweight bout. JJ Aldridge defeated Vanessa Demopolis via unanimous decision. It says 30-26 all, but that might be a typo. Those were 27s. I remember. So I put a typo there. Let me fix that. And as the screen will surely show right here in a moment when I pull it up. Where is it? Right there. All right. So, yep, Vanessa Demopolis falls short in the UFC debut. Unfortunately, as we expected her to. Yeah, it was a great performance from JJ. From JJ Aldridge. She looked fantastic out there. Vanessa Demopolis, very, very tough. Something that if you have seen her before, you already knew about, but just did not have much to offer up to Vanessa in this one. So what ends up happening? Unanimous decision. Each round gets outstruck, except for the first round, apparently, right there. 28-25 for Demopolis, but either way, takedown in there. Pretty big takedown, too, from Aldridge. She was just a little bit ahead everywhere, step ahead. It was always going to be a struggle for Demopolis to win this fight unless she pulled off a submission, which JJ is too savvy to let that happen. And Vanessa Demopolis is a strawweight, so that's where she will be next. She's in the UFC now, though, so congratulations to her, even in defeat. Yeah, it was a good performance from JJ, but nothing crazy. But yeah, great variety, as Go says. Kind of liked Aldridge's game. Plenty of variety. Going back to the other comment, Jimmy says, geez, 10 fights on your contract with no negotiation. Renegotiation is terrible. There's renegotiation. I don't know if I didn't mean to make that sound unclear, but yeah, because Randa, I remember she got a new contract, renegotiate after like her first 3 or 4 UFC fights, probably 3 because she went back and forth, right? But they can renegotiate. It's just a fact of having something to leverage. So you really need to win if you're on that contract, Jimmy, because if you're losing, then you're pretty fucking stuck, right? So yeah. Joseph with comments about news coming up. I'll save those. But this one here, he says, JJ Aldridge versus Angela Hill next, because Hill is the female Cerrone. P.S. Do you listen to her podcast with Karen Bryant? I do not. I like KB, though. Great person. I've had some brief interactions with her. Have seen her in person at the events and all that. But no, I don't watch the show. I don't have a whole lot of time to digest, a bunch of podcasts, you guys, as it's outside of doing my own and all the other stuff I'm working on in this space. But Aldridge versus Hill, I would be surprised if that happens next. Angela will probably still get somebody more notable. Well, I mean, and that's also wrong weight division. So yeah, that's not happening next, Joseph. Wrong weight classes there. JJ is at flyweight now. It used to be a strawweight. So yeah, that is definitely not happening then. But yeah, JJ again looked good. Was it a 2 or a 3 fight winning streak now? At least something back to back. Putting it together. We'll see what is next for her in a flyweight division that needs some continued life. Always could use some, as James suggests. Hill versus Souza, more likely. I mean, if she beats Randa, could see that for sure. Yeah, because that is coming up as well. So, all right. On that note, it is time already. But first, before we do move on, you guys, give me just a very quick second here. I got to see about Deep Jewels 34. I'm pretty sure that it is not this weekend, but Chuck has me all worried now. And it is Saturday. So there's that. Add that to the list of shows to preview later. Excellent. Did not. Everything's sneaking up on me right now, you guys. Invicta last week. Deep Jewels this week. I'm embarrassed. I am just so embarrassed. But anyway, enough of that embarrassment. It's time for the Phantom Punch breakdown. Number 7, doing a little bit of a revisit today in very timely fashion. Yours truly, Ghost Phantom, hitting us with a revisit of Zhang Weili's elbows, which is going to be good and fun. So here we go. The elbows of Weili. Of course, that was the very first Phantom Punch breakdown. And I did not get time actually to watch this beforehand, Ghost, so I'm very excited to see see what we were pointing out this time. But without further ado, let us get right into it, taking a look at some more beautiful elbow work. I'm never going to complain about seeing elbows, you guys. So get ready. Here we are. Zhang Weili mini breakdown. A redux from elbows. A rare and unexplored idea in MMA wrestling is the idea of kazushi. Kazushi is the act of breaking the opponent's balance. Recall the principles of judo/jujitsu, base posture, connection, pressure. These principles can be used to execute kazushi. When a fighter achieves kazushi in clinch or wrestling exchanges, it gives that fighter endless attacking ideas. Right there. Speaking of Danielle Taylor from earlier, Zhang has a single collar tie and an underhook, as well as an established base. This allows her to break the opponent's posture and get hip separation for a potential knee. After throwing the knee, her opponent is now square and has reestablished a solid base and proper posture. Zhang does not let her opponent settle, so she responds with an outer reap in order to unbalance her opponent, kazushi. Wonderful stuff. Zhang positions her arms like she is about to do a head and arm throw, but not for the throw, but to make her opponent move laterally. Back it on up. As her opponent reestablishes her base and posture, Zhang immediately locks in a far side overhook. The opponent reacts by backing up at a sideways angle. She has to back up sideways because of the overhook, not the position of Zhang's base outside of the opponent's lead leg. Zhang plants her lead foot outside of her overhook as her rear foot pivots. Her opponent backing up sideways gave Zhang the space to free up her elbow. There it comes. Boom. Pain. Slow-mo time. Zhang is constantly using the idea of kazushi with dynamic movement as soon as she enters a clinch wrestling exchange. This gives her the ability to strike while pursuing the takedown at the same time. Too quick. At the same time, Zhang's movement is forcing her opponent to look for balance. Zhang is able to find strikes when the opponent looks to regain balance. It is well paced, Ghost, don't worry. Frantic action in that fight. Goodness, you forget about it. Feels like forever ago. Zhang does something unusual here. She bases in between her opponent's base to swing her rear foot outside of her opponent's foot. As Zhang throws her knee, she automatically throws her base foot outside of her opponent's lead foot while hanging on the single collar tie. Zhang used the motion of a head and arm throw, kazushi, to force her opponent to move towards Zhang's left foot. Zhang attempts an outside trip, which forces her opponent to move away from Zhang's hips. This is another example of kazushi, since she is constantly off-balancing her opponent. Zhang now uses a massive outer reap to complete the takedown while her opponent is off balance. Thanks for that, Ghost. That was very helpful. Just all over the place. And trip. Kazushi is an ancient term used when judo was first created. While the idea of kazushi is old, striking while off balance, Off-balancing your opponent is in the clinch is a new concept. Using takedowns to set up strikes in the clinch is very rare to see, since in judo, you cannot strike, while in Muay Thai, you cannot take someone down by attacking the legs or hip throws, but you can sweep. The current trend in MMA is the low calf kick, and a few years back, it was the low line side kick and the oblique kick. How long do you think using active takedown attempts to set up knees and elbows in the clinch will be the new trend in MMA? Well, very interesting question there, Ghost. And let me fix the camera real quick before I come back on. If you look at all these other trends, here I want to do half screen if I can. Not that one. There we go. They last a couple years or so, and before it changes. Like if you look at the calf kick starting, you go back to Benson, who started off with it, really kind of highlighting at least in the UFC, right, to a very solid degree. And it didn't really catch on until a couple years later, and that was around he was champion in 2013-ish. Then before that, like you said, there was the little period of time, maybe 5-year stretches. I don't know. It's kind of hard to say off the top of my head here, but in this regard, I don't see why it would be why it wouldn't be the same, if not a little bit quicker, because in MMA, as you know, things are evolving every single day. Fighters getting better and better rapidly, and figuring out new ways to be effective in the fight game. So I don't think these kind of trends will be trends for too long, because then in that case, they wouldn't be trends anymore, right? I don't know. We'll see. But either way, glad you pointed it out, my friend. So very interesting stuff as always there for episode number 7. Let me stop the screen share on that. Get on out of here. Check the old comments. What do we got, boys? James says, oh shit. Ghost says, actually, the first one was Misha Tate. That is right. My bad. Flip-flop. I knew it was one of the first two. See, we have so many now. I've already forgotten what the order was. But Alvin says, yes, love these. Always good to learn something new. Jin says, and Taylor, what timing? Indeed it is. Sintro says, this is quite cool. I never thought Zhang was a wrestler or clinch fighter. You got to go back and watch the early fights, man. That was something she utilized those parts of her game, a good bit more than before she got the UFC, but obviously still in the UFC, as we saw in that fight. But yes, very overall talented individual is Ms. Zhang, of course, as Alvin would say. Rain says, man, she always looking to off-balance her opponent. I never saw how much, though, and how scientific it is. Alvin says, I was never really a fan of Ms. Zhang until I saw her documentary. Love her humility and her hard work. I love that these help me learn about her techniques. There you go, man. That's why they're here. Good stuff. We got Jin saying, Kazushi is a great idea, but striking off it is very difficult and uncommon since I never even heard of it. Jimmy says, Kayla uses this unbalancing tactic. Well, with that judo. James says, to answer a ghost question, I don't think Kazushi ever will. Too complicated. All right, there you go. And real quick, Joseph throwing in a comment going back to the Laura stuff. I don't like Laura backstage interview, but calling the fight, no thank you. I'd rather hear Misha, because last time she did the desk was Lewis versus Hunt. Wow, that was a while ago. Don't even remember that. But yeah, another great fandom punch breakdown as always. Thank you so much, Ghost, and for all your work and all the things you do, the support for the channel, everything, the show, all that good stuff. Always very enjoyable. Excited to see who you have next before we get to Emi Fujino, who you guys will remember is episode 9. And man, Ryzen's coming up quick too. Everything is just sneaking up on me. But anyway, now it is news time. No mailbag today since Steve and I were a bit scrambled, and he's obviously not here. So he usually takes care of the mailbag. So no mailbag today. Apologies, you guys. We'll get you next week. So it is on to the news, which a lot of interesting bits about going on in the world of MMA regarding things that have been announced. So Yes, no mailbag, Jin. I apologize. Nothing. We didn't set it up in time because we're all over the place, as I said. But next week, so sorry for that. Before we get to the news, Joseph, he says, I meant it last week to you and Steve. Misha is taking the easy way to Nunes. She knows in her heart she cannot be Nunes. Her nose will be broken. Well, disagree. Agree to disagree. All right. So, flyweight news. Priscilla Cashiwera taking on Jillian Robertson, set for the UFC Fight Night event on December 11th. Good to see Priscilla get a fight rebooked after she was supposed to fight a week or so ago, whenever that was. But yes, sorry, Jimmy. No Yusuf shenanigans this week. I know he's probably very disappointed, but we'll get back to him when we can. And but yeah, Priscilla Cashiwera was supposed to fight short notice a couple weeks ago, right? But I don't remember exactly what it was that happened to her visa issues or something. I don't think it was weight cut stuff because it was up at bantamweight, right? So here we are now with Robertson versus Cashiwera. Should be fun while it lasts. Very much a striker versus grappler fight because Cashiwera's takedown defense is practically non-existent, as we saw in the last fight and most of her fights generally. And then Jillian Robertson does not have too much in terms of the striking, but she can submit you. So if you can get Cashiwera down, there you go. But if she can't, she is probably going to be in trouble. So that's how I see this fight. Matchmaking wise, Cashiwera is on a 2-fight winning streak, and then Robertson, she's still rebounding a little bit, trying to get back on a solid track after the losses she was suffering, right? So not mad at it, not crazy about it, but I'll take it. I will take it. Sorry, as the hair is bothering me right now, you guys. Oh, yep, you are correct. Thank you for that correction, Joseph. As I said, I'm all over. Yes, that is UFC 269. And I even have that on some of these other fights we'll talk about. So that just goes to show how much I'm losing my mind. 269 is December 11th, you guys. My apologies. James says, easy win for Jillian. Yep, just has to get it down. Centro, man, I said this last week, but there is no other WMA channel like this one. 2 thumbs up for WMA Today. Thank you so much, man. That really does mean the world. I appreciate it so much. Just trying to show respect where it is deserved. I've always wanted to do that for the ladies, as those of you who follow me know. And now here we are. So talk about them as much as you can. So, all right, there was that one. Flyweight action as we move to more flyweight news, and not exactly a surprise, but it is what it is. So here we are at UFC, an event on November 13th, which is not a pay-per-view, right? Andrea Lee will be taking on Jessica I. As Andrea Lee, KGB, just snapped her losing streak against Antonina Shevchenko. And now taking on Jessica I, who looks to not lose 4 fights in a row, which if she does that, she will be the first fighter in UFC history to go on 2 separate consecutive 4-fight losing streaks. Is what it is. So she'll be looking to prevent that record from happening. And she would be what? It would be each of those, if that happens, she'd be 1-5 in her last 6 of those stretches. Pretty crazy. But hey, Jessica I fights are the last one. It's pretty fun. The JoJo fight I did enjoy. You guys know me. I don't have too much to say about Jessica I just feel like we're just doing the thing. KGB, I'm fine with this fight, I guess. I mean, I'd have to look at the rankings here, but stylistically, I think they match up pretty well. Should be a banger. Andrea Lee fights are always fun, and she looked pretty great in that last one. So I'll take it. I'll take it. But I don't know. They just keep matching Jessica Eye up with top 15 people, which is something I disagree with. But hey, it doesn't matter. I guess she can lose as much as she wants and she sticks around anyway. So, all right. Yeah. It is what it is. But yes, thanks so much, Centro. Again, Jin says, "Oh, very funny. I think Ghost should do a Panda Punch breakdown on these two." James says, "Jessica I's striking equals poop emoji." So there's those thoughts. Chuck with a fair point. It was enough to beat Arujo, though. Yeah, that it was. But to be fair, Viviani did slow down as she tends to do. But either way, that was still a win for Jessica Eye. She rightfully won that fight, which is actually probably, I'd have to look back at all the wins or all of her fights in the last since she's gone to flyweight, but that actually might be the only fight that I think I've scored for her since she's been at flyweight. So yeah, that is what it is. This fight should be all right though. I guess we'll see. Sammy, good to see you, my man. He says, "Hi, Drake. Shame there's no Twitter mailbag. I had a question." Well, hey, drop it on here, man. We're here now, so that's the thing. The whole point of the Twitter mailbag, really, with the mailbag in general, because you guys can send my email too, is pretty much to give those who can't make it live their chance to get answered. So if you guys are here, I'm quite open to being asked at any time, of course. And Ghost says Jin Karasu is quite the comedian. I know everyone's starting to give you some great suggestions, Ghost. We had some last week that you laughed off. But hey, it's all good fun. As we continue moving on here. Speaking of one Antonina Shevchenko, was it 3 flyweight fights announced in a row? How about that? But Antonina Shevchenko versus Casey O'Neill set for the event on October 2nd in the UFC. Not sure if that'll be Fight Island or not, but it is going down on October 2nd. Wouldn't have expected this one. And, after that last win for Casey O'Neill, I don't think that I would qualify this still as a fast track attempt, which the Procopio fight I did think was kind of that, but she passed that test, flying colors. Great determination to fight through a very tough first round and then, get the submission, put Procopio out of the whole promotion, which that's still a head scratcher. But taking on Antonina, who, of course, a vastly superior striker, but will struggle on the ground. Another striker grappler matchup, essentially. I would have been fairly upset at this if it happened before O'Neill's Procopio win, but I think I'm okay with it now. It still feels a little bit quick for Casey if she wins, that she's gonna get a much bigger fight as well, beating a Shevchenko. So I'm not sure how I feel about that. Yeah, we'll see how she looks in this fight, but honestly, I think I favor her, though. Just when you look at the styles and how she looked in that last one, overcame the adversity, as I said. Of course, Antonina, different beast in terms of striking compared to Procopio and all that. But if she can survive and get her down, she should be just fine from what we've seen so far. So this one is very interesting to see how it plays out. So yeah. And yep. Little Scott, good to see you. He says he's got King here. King Casey, that is. Joseph says, I'd rather see Antonina fighting at 135. Just think of her versus Pennington. Wouldn't be mad at it. She'd struggle against some of the bigger 135ers. But yeah, she's got the length and all that to hang. And in terms of bigger, I mean, like the grapplers, which of course there's, not a whole bunch of them, I suppose. But she wouldn't be fighting for the title, I don't think. All right. And Sammy, I see your question. We will save that once we get, we're coming into the news here momentarily. Yes, so don't worry, you guys. That is obviously going to be quite the topic we will get to regarding belts and stuff. So, and just skimming over that, Jimmy looks okay, man. I think Sammy is not intending anything. You showed him last week, but we're all civil here, you guys. I know you guys. I trust you. All right, don't let me down here. We're just hanging. So actually, this is the next thing I had on the lineup. So, actually, no. Oh, I didn't pull up the picture. Never mind. Here, let me do that real quick, you guys, because I don't know if that was in. I bookmark the tweets generally when I make the things for these to display on the screen, and there wasn't a poster. Oh, I guess there might have been. I just must have missed it. All right, so bum. Apologies. All right, yeah, we'll start off with this one, which is on the same card. I am because let's start with the maybe more guaranteed positives here. GDR, Jermaine Durandamy, finally she's got a fight booked, and it is the fight that is the right fight to make. Taking on Irene Aldana, UFC 268, November 6th, MSG. Good Lord, this card is fucking incredible already. It's not even done, and on paper, it's looking like an all-timer. I cannot wait for this fight, for that event. My God. And this is just going to be sensational. Aldana, I mean, and Jermaine, this is fantastic matchmaking from a divisional standpoint, fantastic matchmaking from a style standpoint. This has potential to be fight of the night. I expect nothing less, but just two great strikers going at it, throwing down. If somebody's going to take the other down, I would expect it to be probably Aldana. I mean, who knows? But even then, when she gets into wars, she doesn't tend to lean on her grappling, as we saw with Pudilova, one of the best fights you'll ever see. She hung in there, bit down on the mouthpiece, and went to war. So that's just what you're getting here. So this fight is going to be fantastic. You got it. Aldana, if she wins, 1,000,000% gets the title shot. GDR, if she wins, probably faces somebody else. I don't think she'll get a title shot again already. But this is 100% for Aldana, the title shot. I mean, they were talking about it after the last fight. It's because the division's so thin and all that, coming back, just getting one fight in there. But yeah, this fight, I cannot say enough good things about. It's going to be fantastic. Little Scott says he loves 268. It is beautiful. Joseph says, I know Aldana missed weight in her last fight, but do you see Aldana facing Nunes in 2022? Yes, I think so. I think that will be the time for her. If you look at the lineup now. Yeah, because this fight is what, in November? No chance it happens before the end of the year, assuming she would pull it off. But yeah, this will be this is the fight for Aldana to get her first title shot. And even if she loses, she could still get one next year because, again, the division is just lacking new faces for the Lobo Gym product to take on. So I do think so, Joseph. That is, I mean, I say that like I'm predicting her to beat Jermaine, but that is definitely not a guarantee. This is a tough one for me to pick. But of course, if you're going to lean towards somebody to win this fight, I think you have to lean Jermaine. Early lean, right? I'm saying that now, not making an official pick yet, because I love both of them so much. But we know who's one of the best strikers in MMA is Jermaine Durandamy. Just how it is. So to pick not as good striker over her, it seems funny. Of course, Aldana could put her lights out. They could each. It's just beautiful. I just like this fight a lot. So I was very happy to see this. So yeah. That is on UFC 268, but so is the other fight that was announced for UFC 268, which we have already had things alluded to. And I'm going to have to scroll back up here in a moment to read them off, because I will start with you, Sammy, since you got in there. Joseph says, I think Aldana will be Nunes' toughest fight because of the striking and the stand-up. Let's see if Nunes does the same thing at 245 on Aldana. That's the thing, right? Of course, I think that Nunes can strike is able to outstrike Aldana and all that, but safe path to victory is take her down, of course. All right. So here we are, you guys. The big news of the week, the final bit of news actually on the lineup before we get to previews and whatnot. So let's address the old elephant in the room, which is the strawweight title rematch. Rose Namajunas, Zhang Weili to the woman we just broke down in the Phantom Punch breakdown, set to co-main event UFC 268, that very same card as Aldana versus GDR MSG. Yeah, Jin, great point. Here it comes. So before I give all the thoughts that I have about this here, let's see where Sammy started off, which I think will go in line with my thoughts. So he says, why is everyone so mad about Rose versus Weili 2? In 2019, everyone was asking for Rose versus Weili right after she got her head slammed to a different dimension and only defending her title once. And then he asks, or says, why aren't they keeping the same energy? Well, in regards to that second part, kind of, Sammy, that's something I feel like Steve and I have discussed many times on the show now, circling kind of you and I have talked about it, man. It's, people are fickle, and one single fight and what happens after, they choose what they want to hear. But here we are. Why is everyone so mad about Rose versus Weili 2? The situations are different, Sammy, despite, you mentioning everyone want to see that after she lost, and only defending her title once. That is a great point, actually. I don't know. I guess I don't have a solid answer to that specifically, but Litchfield Scott decision does make a great point. He says, I think people have to understand this is a business before a sport. Yeah, that is something they definitely need to do, and I do understand that, but it still just drives me absolutely insane that, as I've said, you guys, to reiterate, I am very excited to see this rematch. This is something I was hoping we would get to see, and I'm glad we are getting to see it. The timing is just not right for numerous reasons. And as you mentioned here, Litchfield, the business side, UFC wanting to shoehorn a title back into China, that's just facts, with the deals that they struck and all that they put into Weili and all of that. That's just how it is. She defended the title once. She lost in 78 seconds or so. It sucks that it ended up that way. And now they're doing her a disservice in the long run. This is doing her no favors whatsoever, unless she wins. This puts a lot of pressure on Weili, you guys. Think about it, because if she loses right now in this fight, she'll have lost not only twice in a row, but twice in a row to the same person that is the champion. It is exactly the same case as Max Holloway, Alexander Volkanovski, where you cannot, I guess you can justify Volkanovski's a little bit because that second fight was, a little bit questionable in terms of, for some people, I thought Volkanovski won, but, a lot of people thought he didn't. You're put in that limbo where good luck getting a title fight, a little bit like Masvidal as well. Good luck getting a title fight while that person's still champion. Look at what Joseph Benavidez had to do. He had to win like 6 fights in a row to get back to DJ, and they only fought once. In this case, it's not great. And yeah, another great point, Jin, Cody Garbrandt. It just doesn't do these fighters anything. It's very short-sighted, right? That's what I'm going to say. If she wins, it all goes away. But when you look at what you guys have already mentioned, the media side of this, the fans' reactions, who should be getting the Carla Esparza is out there, a story of a rematch that literally wrote itself. It wrote itself into existence, and The UFC must not have the confidence to be able to fucking tell that story. At least you would assume, if it wasn't a business thing. Because what does the UFC care about? Money. What did they make a lot of money off of the last year or two? China. Where is this event taking place? New York City, Madison Square Garden. The first time they've been there since before the pandemic. Gonna have a massive show. More eyeballs, yada yada. And more likely to be a more fun fight. Higher, maybe more likely to be a fun fight that Rose could still lose and all that. And, surely they wouldn't hate that. But Carla, of course, can beat Rose, and it would be less exciting in theory. I mean, if you look at how she beat her the first time, I don't know. And then you look at the fact that all three of these fighters managed by the same management, as James did mention here. This is her manager's fault because Sucker Punch represents, yes, all three of them. And if I was Carla, you guys, I would be fucking out of there, man. I would be livid if I was her. And of course, I'm sure that the UFC clearly, they wanted this from the beginning. We saw on Fight Night, Dana was talking about the Weili rematch, but still, the fact that it's a tough position for Brian Butler. It is in Sucker Punch, but man, I don't know. It's just so incredibly frustrating too. When I haven't even mentioned this part, right? The fact that this is in the strawweight division, one of the very best divisions in the entire UFC, and we're clogging it up with a rematch that can wait. Weili still hasn't fought several people in the top 10, top 5 that we could have very fun fights with, get her to build up some steam and, get back in there before potentially putting her in Holly Holm territory if she loses. Not saying she's there yet, because she definitely isn't, but it's just so short-sighted. It hurts the division incredibly. Carla's going to most likely wait. That's what it sounded like from her very minimal reaction. Just wait, be on the sideline. And then in October, we have Mackenzie Dern and Marina Rodriguez fighting in a main event where the winner of that fight deserves a title shot too. You're going to have two women, Esparza and the winner of that fight, very much deserving of title shots, that are going to have to wait even longer and longer. And imagine if Rose does win again. Who knows how long she'll wait after this fight? Because very unlikely that it goes as quickly as the first one. Very unlikely. You guys know that. I think Weili's going to win this fight. We've been saying this. I believe she's going to come back better than ever. And still pick her. I still pick her in this fight. I think she's going to pull it off. But again, it's just tough. It's just tough. Very short-sighted. It's a lot of pressure for her. And of course you want her to get that chance and everything, but it's going to be there. It's going to be there. And if you do that Joanna rematch, which of course, who knows what's happening with Joanna, probably nothing, but you could have made this make sense in a lot of ways, build it up, but it is what it is. I'm very excited for the fight. I am. That shouldn't be happening right now. Joseph says, Zhang has not been the same since Joanna. P.S. What's the update on her? Because she said she'll be a free agent soon. Joanna said that? That's interesting. If so, I didn't hear that. And again, as I kind of just mentioned, to have not heard anything about Joanna. And as Steve and I were talking about, what was it, last week or whenever? Who knows? She could be done. She could be done. Not the same drive, clearly, no matter what she says. But Joseph, I disagree with that. We haven't yet to see if Weili is the same. She had one fight, man, and it was very quick. And she started off looking fantastic. And yes, it was short, but I don't think there's anything to support her not being the same since that fight. That was a fight before the last fight. Jen says, I'm rooting for Weili, but not excited for the hate coming her way. Exactly. A big disservice. Nobody wanted that Cody Garbrandt rematch. What was that? You mentioned it as well. Yeah, you did mention that with TJ. Made zero fucking sense. So dumb. It really just doesn't do the fighter any favors. And I mean, look at what happened to Cody in the long run. Like, he's not near a title shot. No way. But a little different, but still. Rain says Sammy had a point. Rose only defended once. Whaley only defended once. Yep. Litchell says, you think UFC pushed Sucker Punch to do this instead of Esparza? Again, I think it was probably this. They just wanted from the start, and Brian just was like, okay, that's what you want to do. Sorry, Carla, this is what they want. And he didn't really try and back her, which I get that, because then you're going against one of your fighters. So he's in a very tough spot. But man, if you're Carla, like, I don't know. I feel like find someone else who could negotiate better. I mean, more in your favor, because obviously you're not getting the help, right? When you're going against everybody else, it just, So Joseph says, maybe Carla's last 4 fights that were decisions. I thought she lost. Well, she didn't, though, is the thing, right? I think that she did lose to, maybe not, to Marina, but, and I could see Jandaroba getting the win there. Either way, they're wins on paper, man. And then the last fight, just, hurts my heart to say. Just complete domination. James says, I love Whaley, but was hoping she would fight a lower ranked opponent. Exactly. Chuck says Whaley can win, but she has a lot of holes in her defense to plug up. We'll find out. Jimmy says large gamble, but still rooting for Whaley. Joseph, Rose underrated. She wins KO inside round 2. Okay. There's a prediction from Joseph. Picking another one. Litchell Scott says, where can we watch Empower in the USA? Bleacher Report, I believe. BR Live or whatever. That's where they stream it. I can send you the link when it's fight night or whatever, but pretty sure they're on there. Maybe they're YouTube or something. But Joseph says, yes, Joanna, because 4 months ago she said she has 1 fight left on her deal. Gotcha. That's right. I do remember that, actually. Thank you for mentioning that. Alvin says, Zhang going against all odds. Love the story if she wins. That would be, it would be just some poetic justice, I guess. But we'll see how it goes. An uphill climb. I didn't skip you, Jin. The question was it for me? Was it for me, man? So yeah, I guess that about sums it up for me and all my thoughts on this fight. I love the fight as a fight, but just in terms of everything else around it, just bothers me a lot. I like to see, those who have worked so hard to get where they've gotten, get that stuff and all that. So I like things to make sense. That's what I like. Coming off losses and getting title fights is it's very situational. Joseph says, is Rose a strawweight GOAT if she wins again? I know Joanna has 6 title defenses, but look who Namunas beat. No, you said it right there. 6 title defenses. It's very easy in hindsight or not in hindsight, but as time has gone on to, disvalue people like, let's say, Ronda or Joanna, but you have to think about how dominant that they were. They earned those spots. Again, going back to earning. For Joanna to be dethroned as strawweight GOAT, I think she's going to need, hypothetically, Rose will need to, close that gap in titles. And if she, just gets a couple 3 here, depending on how she does it, who she does it against, could help. But yes, I know that, of course, Rose did beat Joanna twice and all that, but look at what she did, man. Look at what she did. And there you go, Rain. Atta boy. No, Joseph. The code is Megumi Fuji. There you go. All right, you guys. 15 minutes till 8 o'clock Pacific time. Perfect timing here as we begin to get to the previews. The news is all done, I think. Oh, well, I guess I actually skipped one, which not much to it. I guess I'll just mention it real quick that we have Nunes Pena is rebooked. So that is going to be on that December 11th card that was it 269. So yeah, that's still happening. So not really much to say about it that we haven't said already. Title defense for Nunes. Yep. So that's happening again, still December 11th. Get excited, I guess. Yeah. So that's that. Oh, and then I guess I left this out too. Jeez, I forgot to update the actual lineup for on the StreamYard. But Ilya Shakarova received a 2-year USADA suspension today. That was unexpected to see, but tested positive for meldonium, I believe is what it was. And now she is out for 2 years. Won't see her till 2022. The flyweight out of Uzbekistan who stepped in to take on Lauren Murphy at 254 last year, if you remember that. Meldonium is something that, what was it, the Russian team? Is this the thing that they all tested positive for? So this was something that she forgot to disclose from what I read. Before joining the UFC, she didn't use it in the UFC for that fight or anything like that, but she just forgot to mention it or whatever. Who knows? And now she's paying for it. So, of course, I think most famously what Maria Sharapova tested positive for this as well and got a suspension. Then Islam Makhachev actually also got suspended for this a while back. So Shakarova with 2 years, though. That seems a little harsh for your first penalty. And I mean, I guess that this drug helps you recover better after training and that kind of thing, helps with recovery and all that. So a fairly serious thing. Again, not super knowledgeable on meldonium or anything like that, but bummer because I was really looking forward to seeing Lilia Shakarova get back in there. 8-2, has a win over Meng Bo, who we will get to here in a second. Now we gotta wait unless they just flat out cut her. So unfortunate, but hey, guess she did it to herself, right? So that's that, and that's the actual last bit of news of the day. So yeah, good fun there. And did I even forget to do the UFC one? I did forget to pull. I apologize, you guys. That's what happens when I'm alone. Joseph says, do you think that Pena will try to get Nunes emotional? The bloodbath between the two. Oh, of course. I mean, she's already been trying to do that. That's her best chance to win, really. So, Cospam says, meldonium, is that a candy? Might be. I'm not familiar with it. Alvin says, this is very sad news. You never want to see someone lose 2 years of the job, but the UFC must follow the rules. Yep. It's kind of shitty too because of the fact she was on short notice, and who knows how well she was informed going from English to, I believe she speaks Russian and whatever the language is though. So it probably could have been avoided. It really could have, but the circumstances that were around that did not quite help. So yeah, little bit of a bummer indeed. See what she can do in the meantime. But here, let me pull up what we got coming here, because I left something off, as I said. But all right, you guys, let's get into it. Try and wrap this in 10 minutes because I want to get on that call, as I mentioned. And then, of course, over with the boys at SCMP. But I'm definitely going to go over, I can already tell, because we're talking about One Empower, baby. One Empower is finally happening. The preview we got coming up right this second for the Atomweight Grand Prix and the strawweight title fight. The Panda is back. Oh my. I still can't believe it. Fingers crossed nothing crazy happens in the coming days. But anyway, here we are, you guys. How do we break this down? There's so much to get into. We'll just start right off the top, I guess, even though it's generally not how I go, but we'll do it for this card. Panda, Zhang versus Michelle Nicolini. practically another striker grappler matchup, even though Zhang Jingnan, the Panda, has been working very hard on her ground game. And, people at Evolve where Nicolini, I don't know if she's still a jiu-jitsu coach there, but she once was. So kind of insider knowledge between the two of them working in the same area, training and all that. But Nicolini, of course, did defeat Angela Lee. Great ground game. Clearly, her best path to victory here is to get Jingnan down. If she doesn't, she's probably going to get beat up on the feet. So this one feels kind of cut and dry for me. And Nicolini getting up there in age. Don't know how much that'll matter. I mean, it hasn't seemed to yet, but yes, Little Scott says, finally in power. James says, the punching Panda versus Nicolini. Low-key banger. Gonna be fun. It's always fun with Panda. So, plain and simple, she just needs to keep it off the ground, I think. No one's really tested her too much. I mean, enough to beat her in the striking. Specifically, Angela Lee beat her on the ground to win their rematch, which was controversial in a way. If you know, you know. But I got to go with the fighting Panda just because every fight does start on the feet. She's been so tough to beat as is. But if Nicolini gets it down, it's gonna be interesting. Similar to Cashiwera versus Robertson in terms of the strengths, but Jingnan definitely has much better takedown defense than Cashiwera, as many do, because she actually has some. So Panda for me, I'm gonna go third round TKO. I think she'll find the finish. Plenty of time to prepare for this matchup too, which does help both fighters having had the delay, but very rarely am I gonna go against Zhang Jingnan. Rain says Jingnan does have some good escapes, except for the RNC Angela got her with. Yep, exactly. Cintro, the punching Panda. Good hands, indeed. She's a little gangster. She is. And, one of my favorite people to talk to. She is always a good time. So, yeah, that is the main event. But, of course, the big talk, the featured attraction, is actually the tournament here. So, you guys, started off with Denise Zamboanga, Sohi Ham, not started off on the night, but with what we're talking about. Zamboanga versus Sohi Ham, one of the greatest ever, the South Korean GOAT. This is her tournament to lose. She's got a vast experience advantage over everybody. Fought, you name it. She's looked incredible since leaving the UFC. Sohi Ham's going to win the whole tournament, is my prediction here. So she's going to beat Denise Zamboanga just by simply being better everywhere. But, of course, the question is the fact that there is going to be a weight difference. And if anybody is going to beat Ham in this tournament, I would say it is probably Zamboanga or Mengbo. There's just, I can't pick against Sohi Ham. If your name isn't Ayaka Hamasaki, I'm probably not going to pick you against Sohi Ham. So been a while, though. It has been a while since that amazing trilogy that she did have with Ayaka. So will she be rusty? I doubt it. With all the experience she has, not going to matter to her. And packing on the muscle for this new journey in one championship, maybe she'll even have some extra knockout power, which she's already shown us on this recent run. I just struggle to see Sohi losing unless she gets laid on or something, which I still just don't see happening either, because she's very good off her back as well, as we saw with that triangle on Ayaka, and numerous other times. Yeah, Sohi Ham is my pick for the whole tournament. So spoiler alert, she's just that goddamn good. And in this fight specifically, I will say, I'm going to stay safe actually and do a unanimous decision because, of course, Denise is quite talented, undefeated, but hey, this is just a different animal here. Just a different animal. All right. So, moving on. The rematch. Alionia Rasohinia taking on Stamp Fairtex. Yes. So, this fight, the only reason Rasohinia is in the tournament is because she got that Hail Mary submission, of course, against Stamp. But Prior to that, Stamp was beating her pretty easily, piecing her up on the feet, some ground and pound in there mixed in. She just wasn't having too much trouble at all until she got caught. I would be very surprised if Stamp loses this fight, especially after how that first fight went and the controversy, yada yada. Rasohinia is the biggest underdog in the whole tournament. I don't think there's any debate about that. I think Stamp will finish it this time. I'm going to say second round TKO. She's out for blood, I think. So, yeah. And then we got Ghost chiming in. Says, Ham went toe-to-toe with Hamasaki and had her in a triangle. Indeed. Indeed, she did. Loved that fight. All right, so that moves us to Mengbo, everybody's favorite Mengbo, versus Ritu Fogit. Goodness gracious, you guys. The roller coaster that poor Mengbo's had to go through to get to this point, having no idea who she's going to fight, ends up with this person she was supposed to fight originally. Just nonsense. But she is unaffected. No skin off her back. She says she's not bothered by any of the circumstances that have surrounded this. She told me that. Shameless plug to the interview I did with her. Go check it out on SCMP after the show, of course. But if you haven't yet, she, seemed like usual Mengbo. Didn't really seem too bothered by it, at least in the moment of speaking to her. And has been bringing in training partners specifically for Ritu, some wrestlers and all that, which is smart because that's the only way she's losing is if she gets out wrestled. As we know, even though Ritu looked, very solid against Lin Hei Shin, of course. Still, I don't trust her striking enough just yet, and against somebody like Mengbo. So, who obviously is one of the hardest hitters in this entire division, and has showed some continual work on the ground as well. So another striker grappler matchup a bit here. And yes, even though Hamasaki did defend well, says Ghost. And Rain asks, is it Mengbo or Bo Meng? It is Mengbo. If you're, China, how they pronounce the names, like Zhang Weili. Zhang is the family name, and Weili is the first name, but they say it the other way around. So you could say it either way, but I like to say it how they say it over there out of respect to them. So it really, I don't want to say it doesn't matter, just kind of a preference thing, but family names first in China. So as you can see here, Tapology says Bomang first, which is how you technically say a name like ours. Anywhere else, I mean, in non-Asian countries, I know Japan does that a little bit too, or whatever. But in China, of course, most prominently known when pronouncing and all that. So, for me, I didn't make the pick here, but I think Mengbo probably going to be the person I think will face Sohi in the finals, depending on how the brackets laid out. I'm not totally sure if they changed that too, which they probably did. But Mengbo for me by, I'm going to say, I think this will be a tough one. You know what? I think I'm going to give Ritu a little bit of a chance here, a little bit more of a chance than I would have. I think this will be closer than it should be, but she'll end up getting Mengbo down probably in the middle round. It's going to come down to the third round, even though it's not, in the third round necessarily. But I mean, that we don't score by rounds and all that, but that's how the flow of the fight's going to go. I'm going to say Mengbo by split decision. In the end, that's what I'm going to go with. I think she'll win. I could see her knocking out Ritu depending if she gasses late. But again, the Lin Hei Shin performance kind of really helped Ritu's case, I think, in this one. So, Centro asking, will you be talking about this on SCMP? That is the plan, man. Once I'm out of here, I'm going to go on over there. Probably hop in the media call first. As I said, don't know if I can manage to pull off both those at the same time, but yes, the WMMA Today crew always goes and raids SCMP every now and then, especially when I'm there, which I appreciate so much, you guys. But yes, we've got that collaboration going, of course, 2 links to the same world. But all right, then we get to Itsuki Harata against Elise Anderson, which is probably the low-key most interesting fight out of the bunch, really. Maybe this entire card. Elise Anderson, of course, making her one debut after being in Invicta. had that flying triangle that one time, which was awesome. Great talent, great prospect. Both of them prospects. Itsuki been looking very good, but level of competition, I not so sure how much you want to play into that with Itsuki, but still a lot to be learned. But off to a great start in her career, and as a finisher, I would say to the fullest degree, at least at this stage so far. And Elise, it's been a while since she's fought, so I think that this fight will end up going to the ground. And when it does, because I think both ladies have good strengths there, but I'm going to lean towards Itsuki to find something. She really goes for it and has a pretty solid killer instinct. I'm always looking for that in the ladies. And yeah, she's got a very nice base with the judo and all that training with, was it Boku? No, not Boku. But I'm blanking on who kind of her. Oh, it's what's his name? Aoki. Yeah, he's training with Aoki and all that stuff. So I'm going to take Itsuki by first round submission. I'm going to go first round. I think we might see rust for Elise. If we do, then that's clearly going to be a big help for Itsuki. But we'll see how it goes. Go says one skill that's underrated, not focused on, is the ability to stand back up. So if Ritu shoots 12 times and Bo gets up 12 times, she could gas her. That's a great point as well. So yeah, that was something that Lynn couldn't do, which I'm very glad you highlighted that, Ghost, because that's a great point. If Mengbo can do that, which I believe she has a better chance to do that than Lynn did. And of course, Lynn was coming off a layoff as well. Then yeah, that's a very good point worth mentioning. But we don't know if Bo has been working on standing up or takedown defense. As I said, when speaking to her, she said that she does, game plan specifically for the opponents in front of her. So been bringing in wrestlers to work on takedown defense and that kind of thing for this camp specifically. And of course, she has had to change it up a little bit because of all the things going on. So she's probably worked on everything when you look at who she's had to fight or been matched up with for this tournament. So I expect her to be well prepared. So I'm just being very generous to Ritu, I suppose. But we'll find out, and that's the exciting part about it. But that's it for the tournament and the MMA fights. Well, aside from the reserve bouts, which Chuck, if you're still here, the this opening bout against Jenilyn Olsen and Grace Cleveland is off, right? At least Grace isn't fighting. I saw something somewhere that said Grace was not fighting anymore. And of course, Jenilyn Olsen beat B-Win for this spot, which was another kind of silly thing. But I thought I saw Grace wasn't fighting. So not so sure there. But if she is, that'll be fun to see her. Mei Yamaguchi, of course, the unfinishable Mei Yamaguchi, impossible to finish, taking on Julie Mezarbarba, who is also making her debut. Not that Mei is, but like Cleveland. Yeah, Mei Yamaguchi's superior experience, should have no problem there. Probably a submission. But yeah, we shall see. Anissa Mexen is back as well. Always fun. Kickboxing. Not a title fight, right? Jackie Boonton. Good stuff there. But in terms of predictions, I'm not going to make one for the first one because I don't know if it's happening. So, and I did not get to see that Olsen B-Win fight either. So sorry, guys. But for all the other ones, very much looking forward to this card. And you know what? Centro, since you mentioned it in SCMP stuff, I don't usually stay up to watch these fights as they're on TV being broadcasted because it's a terrible time for me. But for this card, I feel like I have to. So I might be on the Fight Companion on Friday morning for SCMP. So look out for me over there if you want more me on SCMP, which of course I'm always happy to do stuff with them. I do stuff with them all the time. So, all right, that is One Empower, you guys. And yep, I'm over the time that I was aiming for as expected. I'm not sure which face-off interviews I'll be missing, but whatever. Who cares? It'll still be there. I'm just very curious about those. But yeah, One Empower, cannot wait. As you shouldn't be able to wait either. It's going to be fun. But also, as Chuck pointed out to me, Deep Jules 34 is this weekend. Goodness. So I'm going to look at that real quick. maybe not make too many picks, but highlight some things because, you know, I keep up with Deep Jewels, but I'm not super duper familiar with absolutely everybody. A lot, you know, more than others. That is for sure. Deep Jewels 34. How dare Tapology not have the official poster? That is disgraceful because Deep Jewels has the best posters in MMA. So shame on them. But yeah, just to scroll through the card here. Po-Chan Z's back. Tai Maruyama, Miko Shimizu, excuse me. Kato Oyama. Mizuki Furuse is back as well against Nisei. Mizuki versus Mizuki it is. Aya Murakami, excited to see her back after missing out on the tournament. Taking on Chibasai, who, as you can see, microweight. Hyoka Chibasai, I believe, according to Mr. Charlie, blanking on his last name. I'm so sorry, Charlie, from Sogokaku. Shout out to him. Chibasai is the smallest fighter in MMA history. Maybe not history, right? Because we've seen some crazy things, but she's like 4'9", I think. Very tiny. And Murakami 4'11". So that should be interesting just to see. But I like me some Aya Murakami. Bummed that she wasn't in the tournament because of illness or whatever happened to her. We got Tomoko Inoue versus Eru Takabayashi. I love Takabayashi. I am all aboard this very early prospect train. Hard to tell how far she's going to go at this stage, but she is one not to miss. She has looked fantastic for her age. Still 17, I think. If not, then 18. Still very young. Looks very sharp on the feet, and her grappling was improved in that last fight. I thought, even though it wasn't too heavily down there from what I remember. Either way, Takabayashi, I'm very excited to see how her career continues to develop and grow from here. And I feel like Tapology is missing some fights here, which is just ridiculous. How dare they do this? Shaft and Deep Jewels. And of course, the tag team grappling match is on this card as well with Seika Izawa, strawweight champ, who we talked about last week. And then, what is it? Tamimatsu, Aono, and Mika Nagano. Yeah, which is a ridiculous foursome there. So we will see how that goes. But love me some Deep Jewels. So this should be fun. Most looking forward to Aya Murakami and Takabayashi. That is for sure. Furuse, also very young, coming back after becoming a mother and losing to Kana Asakura before that. So yeah. Rain says, smaller than Van Buren. Yes. She's 4'9", as I said. She's very tiny. 4'9". And is what MMA or kickboxing, Litchfield? Because this card is all MMA except for that grappling match, I believe. But Takabayashi striking, James. I think she's very clean, crisp, solid striker for her age. Because, again, as I said, only 17, 18-ish. It looks ahead of her years, I think. And of course, still very early, but I'm really liking what I'm seeing out of her stand-up game in the two fights that I've seen, which was her last win. And then she, did lose in her Ryzen debut, but didn't count because her opponent missed weight, which was Sakura, right? So also another very good 17-year-old prospect. But yes, Takabayashi, check her out. I'm telling you. So yeah, Deep Jewels 34. Boy, oh boy, look at all the MMA coming up. And Alvin says, Deep Jewels seems like a great promotion. Wishing all the fighters a good performance. There you go, buddy. Alvin, Deep Jewels is the Invicta of Japan. If you want a comparison, that is exactly what you're looking at there. Great stuff from them as always. So yeah, that will be fun. But before we wrap up, you guys, we got one more fight to talk about. Unfortunately, UFC Vegas 36 lost Mandy Bohm's UFC debut against Ariane Lipski. So that fight got moved to September 18th, I think. I don't have it on here, but we don't got that this week anymore. I believe because of Mandy's visa issues, because she's from Germany, I believe. Not 100% sure on that, but either way, during fight week, it has been moved. So that sucks. But at least we have Alvin positivity as everyone chimes in. So we're left with just one fight, which happens to be still a flyweight tilt. Panda pitting Ji-Yeon Kim against Meatball Molly. Yep, here we go. So this card, of course, was supposed to be in London. That was kind of why there's so many Brits on it, but it is not. It is in Las Vegas. Ji-Yeon Kim has been training at Syndicate with the likes of Ramona Pascal, Jojo Calderwood, Roxy, everybody. So I think this is her first camp there, if not maybe second. I know she hasn't been there for a long time, but looking forward to seeing what she looks like in this fight against Molly, who clearly is a little bit of a back against the wall position with the Procopio loss and Santos loss. Just hasn't quite worked out for her in the UFC, aside from that 3-fight winning streak, which she was getting some very odd matchups with. As you can see, the Lipscomb was all right, but getting Belbita after 2 in a row was very odd. But what you gonna do? And odds for this one, interestingly, near even. So yeah, Jimmy asked, do you think Kim sparring with the talents would help her against Meatball? Yeah, I definitely think so. I don't know specifically the training partners Molly has, but if we're to compare, like, all those talented female fighters, and I mean, I know Norma Dumont even trains with them a little bit. There's more people I even didn't mention, so she's getting a lot of good partners. Oh, I mean, Whitmire, who, yeah, I mean, no, you guys don't think Whitmire's that great and all that, but Nico is there. There's some other people I remember seeing, but can't think of. There's a lot of girls at Syndicate right now, actually. So I think it's good for Kim, and learning English, I'm sure, just by being around them, and you got to be able to talk to them every now and then. But yeah, not bad looks at all, and just being in America and not having to worry about all the travel stuff. So I think she's in a very good position here. And matchup wise, as Rain says, it's not a good matchup for Molly. I think that Molly is always generally, I'm zoomed in too much, aren't I? Always the shorter fighter at flyweight, which again is the case here in reach, in height, and definitely reach. A full 10 inches she's given up, but we've seen it not matter so much for her. If you look at like that Cashiwera fight, for example, there's a lot of different looks, which as right when I say that, Ghost says there are a lot of good looks training since they're good at different things. Yeah, so much variety that Kim is getting out of working with all of those people. And generally, she's been kind of a reckless, wild kind of brawler of a fighter, I would say. Very durable, though. I mean, she's got that Fire Fist nickname for a reason. Whereas Molly, a bit more calculated, a little boxing, solid boxing, but can take you down as well. So in this matchup, depending on how refined Kim gets, and even if she doesn't, she's going to be very tough and always coming at Molly, getting in her face with the pressure and pouring it on. I think Molly's best bet is to definitely mix in some takedowns, at least some threats of it, because I think Kim's size advantage and all that, she can definitely kind of pick apart her way to a victory against Molly. And even in Molly's grappling defense hasn't been too sharp in those last 2 fights in particular. And I don't think that Kim is going to take it there, at least from what we've seen in the past. It would be smart of her to try with all these new looks she's getting and everything, but not something I'm really willing to bet on. But either way, I think this should be a pretty fun fight. It should be pretty competitive. Cintro says, oh, is Esparza Leon Edwards of strawweight? Yes, she is. I thought you were asking is Kim. And I was like, no, that doesn't make any sense. But Esparza, just real quick. Yeah, that's a great comparison, unfortunately. So yeah. As for this fight, I do like Kim. She's got not the momentum, but the new setup of sorts, and just all these things surrounding her seems like a very positive environment she's been in. And on the same end, though, you guys know me, whenever a fighter's in a back against the wall position, I like that a lot too. Like, that brings it out of you. And will Molly get cut off a loss? That's I struggle to see that, but possible. Quite possible, but they need British stars, right? So who knows? But either way, I think that's great fuel for Meatball, and I mean that was how her UFC career started off anyway. So as she turned it around, so this is a winnable fight, no doubt. But I just kind of like what Kim has been doing recently in terms of her preparation, all that, and then had the loss to Alexa Grasso, which she didn't look terrible in. I don't think Steve was very, very impressed with Grasso in that one, but I didn't think that was the best of performances from, at least compared to what we've seen from Grasso before and after. Kim hung in there, but didn't offer up too much. I think she'll have learned, and with the people at Syndicate again, it'll be very helpful. And then, you remember that Nadia Kassem one where she got the TKO there. I'm gonna lean towards Kim. Yeah, I just think there's a little bit more advantages here in her favor. And Ghost, again, we're on the same wavelength, but he says Kim did have a good body shot knockout. Those are always good since body attacks are so underutilized. Yeah, he literally took the words out of my mouth. So I'm gonna take Kim. It's gonna be close, competitive. I think. I can't see her finishing Molly. Molly is tough to finish unless you're catching her in a submission like what Jillian Robertson did, right, in the debut. But I'm gonna go unanimous decision for the South Korean. So it's gonna be a fun one, though. I do look forward to this fight, and seeing what both of them can do with these stages of their career, and both 31. So how about that? So, and James says, does Kim also have have the edge after fighting better competition? Well, that might be arguable, though. Grasso, of course, Shevchenko, Quiche. Molly's fought some pretty tough fighters too. Procopio, again, the win over Molly is what set Procopio a little bit apart. And then Santos, we know she's legit now. Belbita moved down to strawweight, looked great there. Lipsky, unfortunately, hasn't panned out. Priscilla, I mean, I guess in the UFC, yeah, you're very right there. You are very right there, James. Overall, I wouldn't say by a huge amount, but that's a great point. And then just better training partners, obviously. Could keep mentioning that because she's training with so many great people. So, yeah, I'm fine with these odds. It is very, very close. So pick them. Definitely a pick them. But again, going to lean towards Fire Fist because the nickname. No, that's not why, but here we are. So on that note, we did it. We made it through the show. I went 20 minutes over what I was aiming for, but oh well. I think that it must be Itsuki and Anderson right now, but we'll go find out, you guys. I'm pretty sure SCMP is streaming that, so you can head on over there. I'm going to send you in that direction after we close out here, and I will try and get in on that action, whether it's going between the media call and that. I will sort that out, but I will be over there as we wrap up here. Don't forget to follow us, like, share, and subscribe if you don't already, at Drake Riggs _, at Steve K _MMA. At the Scrap News, plenty of stuff in the works, as always. Just dropped the chat with Melissa Gatto today. Go check that out. It was good stuff speaking with her. And I'm so upset with myself. I told Alexander this too after we talked to her. I'm so upset that I forgot to ask about the fly on her shoulder. You remember that? But either way, it was fun. She had that great performance in her debut against Victoria Leonardo at UFC 265. So caught up with her. Check that out, MiamiNews.com, YouTube.com/Drake Riggs. I got an interview with Eric Ghost Pepper Gonzalez coming out as well tomorrow. And then speaking to another fighter tomorrow and lining things up. We got a new month. It's about to be September and all that fun stuff. And then the SCMP business, which I already mentioned to you guys. So all that good stuff. Joe Gatto, says James. The raid begins. Yep. Get on over there, boys. Ghost says, I'll be there. All right. Love to see it. But I think that is about all the plug-in I got, you guys. I'm not going to do a rundown since I'm already late, but appreciate all you guys so much. It means the world for you tuning in every single week. Without you guys, there is no us. Thank you to each and every one of you that tuned in, and we'll see you next week. Well, I mean, I guess I'll go see you in a couple minutes. But yeah, you know what? That's perfect. Perfect way to raid. Alvin, he says, do you have the SCMP link? I will drop you guys off with that right now. So we'll make it nice and easy of a transition. Not the same as Twitch here. We don't have the power of just sending you directly on over, right? But on that note, you guys, put the link in there. And I'm assuming the chat sticks around. But if not, head on over. Head on over, and I'll see you next week. For Steve and everybody else, thanks so much. Stay safe, stay sane, and peace.